listeners. This is Nick, co-host of the Red Nation podcast. Thanks so much for your support. We have reached 1 million listeners on our podcast, which is quite historic for us. We started on Indigenous Peoples Day in 2019 and have grown quite a bit. Thank you to all the Patreon subscribers. The audio you're about to listen to was recorded about a week and a half ago when I was at the Line 3 struggle at the Red Lake Treaty Camp. It was recorded several days before the pipeline company moved in the drill to drill under the Red Lake River. I can say with authority that the effects of climate change have actually hindered the progress of Line 3 construction, and it's quite devastating. There's a historic drought up in northern Minnesota. Some of the pipeline permits have been pulled at some of the waterways. The river where we were camped next to got so hot that the shellfish had actually baked to death. And some of the shellfish, the freshwater clams, are over 100 years old. There were wildfires, up in northern Canada or up in Canada, north of us, and the smoke was covering the sky, but also creating really red and eerie sunsets as well as red and eerie moon rises. So listen to this podcast, but also remember that this is an ongoing struggle against Line 3 pipeline. It's not over. 70% of the pipeline has been constructed, but they're at a critical phase right now where they need people at the camps to protect the water, not just for the Indigenous people, the Anishinaabe people whose treaty lands and treaty waters and treaty rights are under threat, but also for water for everyone, as well as, living on a planet in the future. This is a historic struggle. We'll put in the show notes where you can get involved. You can support Red Lake Treaty Camp. It's a quite dire situation right now, but nonetheless, the bravery and courage of water protectors should inspire us all to take action. So thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Sasha Bolio. I'm from the Red Lake Nation.
And you're the tribal monitor?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you just give a brief history of this particular waterway and why Red Lake Treaty Camp set up here?
Well, we chose this spot because this is the Red Lake River. We have 4 tributary rivers, and we went over the crossing areas, and this happened to be the closest spot we could find here. And I just thought it was really important that, this is a Red Lake River, and the right over behind me here is literally the line. So this is as close as we could get. I figured this is a pretty important spot to protect here.
And can you talk a little bit about the 63 Treaty and what it means to not just Red Lake, but the protection of waterways and the land?
Yeah, the 1863 Old Crossing Treaty, well, it pretty much was just a thing between the U.S. government and Red Lake. We ceded 5 million acres of land, but we told them we were taking our 1 million acres and we weren't going to cede it to the United States government. We weren't going to do the Dawes Allotment Act. We weren't going to be part of the United States, period. But in that 5 million ceded acres was the Red River Valley. Most of northern Minnesota we gave to them at that point, and we retained our rights to do our hunting, fishing, gathering. We're able to travel to and from ceremony within those spaces, and our usufructuary rights. A lot of people forget that Indigenous people hold usufructuary rights to the water and to the minerals. Anything underneath 6 inches in the ground, we have the rights to. We never gave up our water rights or our mineral rights as Indigenous people.
And this is at the far west end of the pipeline. Is it the furthest north one?
Yes, it is.
So there's, I don't know how many camps are along the pipeline route.
I want to say about 6 camps right now are all along the whole pipeline route.
And what about this one particularly, especially when you have, I think those are fish traps that they have out there?
Yes, we have traditional fish traps set out there. We have nets that go onto them, not to one way that we used to do fishing. They usually will build a platform on the top and fish right off of there as well. So that's an important part of our culture as Anishinaabe people is fishing. So it's really important to have those out here while we're doing our treaty stuff. So yeah.
And we were at a site today where the river was so low that there was no current at all. Is that normal?
No, it definitely is not normal. I mean, we are in a severe drought, but you could clearly see the water pump, dewatering pump sitting right next to the river there, and there was a sand bed all the way across. There was no river flow. It was just sad seeing those little fish or whatever those were peeking out of the water. They're dying under the bridge there with nowhere to swim. It's just really a sad sight to see.
And how has the various Anishinaabe nations responded to Line 3?
Well, I would say for the most part, I'm pretty proud of how my tribe stepped up. It's 10-0 in support of our opposition against Line 3. They made a resolution that they're never going to work with Enbridge, or, from this point on, we're never going to have any type of relationship with Enbridge. We actually have them in quite a lot of lawsuits for past damages. They were illegally pumping 5 lines of their pipelines through Red Lake lands for over 50 years. So they pump billions of gallons of oil through there a day. We never signed any leases. We never made any contracts. We never seen a cent from those 50 years. So they completely destroyed that little piece of land that we had. So we're suing them for damages. We're probably one of the most opposed tribes out of all of the Minnesota tribes. Of course, they're all in opposition. White Earth is against it. Leech Lake is standing up against it. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, not all tribes stand as strong. Fond du Lac is kind of almost more on the side of going for Enbridge. It's not quite the same as Red Lake. So it really varies from place to place, the opposition for it.
So has it unified the tribes or in opposition?
I would say so. I have a pretty good following with Nancy Bolio and Don Goodwin of Leech Lake and White Earth. It's definitely brought our people together closer in some ways. So it's definitely formed some bonds between some of the nations.
And there are like multiple agencies. There's the Army Corps of Engineers who did some of the permitting. There's the State Public Utilities Commission. Am I missing any other ones that?
Well, the Minnesota DNR have a big say with the watering permits. Even the local hydrologists can stop this. So there's quite a lot of different state agencies and federal agencies involved at this point.
And what's been your sort of interaction with each of those agencies?
At first, the DNR MnDOT was working pretty good with us in the beginning. They're the ones that gave us a permit to be on this land for our ceremonial use, although we don't need a permit, but they're the ones that were working closest with us. But things have definitely turned since the work has turned up. They've really gone silent with us, just as everyone else has. I mean, in the beginning, Walsh was all buddy coming to Red Lake all the time too, saying how he honors treaty, even signed a resolution with the Red Lake Nation, how he plans to honor our treaties. But how could he honor our treaties when they're out here being violated daily? So all of those agencies that were so friendly in the beginning have gone silent on us.
It feels like that this pipeline, it's 60% complete, and there is a sense of urgency to stop it now. Like, where's the momentum, with the camps, with elected leaders, with, supporters? Like, where's the momentum? Like, where has it worked, and where do you see kind of like the struggle kind of going?
Yeah, well, it's just really tough because I knew once drill week came, they have 6 different drills, and right now they're at like 3-4 different major campsites. So we were at Middle River today, and we're hearing the drill might be here today in 1863 treaty territory, while Shell River is currently being drilled underneath, while White Earth is saying they're reporting shaking in the ground, and they could hear the drill going underneath. So they're using checkerboard tactics with us, where we're not able to all unify all at once because they have 3 or 4 or 5 drills going at once. So it's tough for us to unify per se for the camps, but at the same time, it's good we have eyes all the way up and down this pipeline. It's really important. I mean, every single one of these are our own home rivers, so it's just about trying to gather more supporters here to come and support us in our own home river area. That's definitely something we're trying to do. We have a few organizations in Minneapolis that set up people, kind of screen them through and vet them to come up to the camps. But unfortunately, we get a lot of weekend warriors. We get pretty full on the weekends, but then everybody has to go home and do their things. So it's kind of tough finding full-time frontliners right now. So I'm hoping people start paying attention now that our treaties are being severely violated, our waters are being severely violated. They have a pump in Middle River, and the water is completely gone out of some spots. I mean, that's a severe violation to our waters and our treaty rights and our human rights. So I just really hope people start paying attention now.
And when was this camp set up?
December 22nd was the first day we set up the wigwam and did a pipe ceremony out here.
And was this all? This wasn't here like the fencing or
No.
the construction.
Yeah, nothing was out here in the beginning. It was just us and a couple security guards. They did approve the permit in December, so they did work for about 3-4 weeks there, and then we got them shut down with they were trying to drill under the water, under the ice, but they are unable to see the frack out clay, so they had to stop working until June. So it's just recently resumed again.
And what kind of like, as a, somebody who's not only a tribal member, but you're also like a leader in this fight. There's a lot of sacrifice that you have to make personally. Like what's it like being out here all the time?
It gets really exhausting. It really presses your spirit, and it's hard. Some days when it's 95 degrees and humid, sometimes I just want to go home and shut the door and turn on my AC and just go to work, my 8 to 5. But that's not an option for me right now. The water is in perilous danger, and we need to stand up for this. So right now, I feel like this is my most important fight right now. So I have to put all my personal comforts and securities to the side. And luckily, my tribe and my employers and everybody, they understand. So I'm able to do this. Unfortunately, not all people have such understanding jobs, and so I'm really lucky to be able to put all my stuff on hold like this. But at the same time, it's definitely a sacrifice. It's definitely a trying thing, but it's worth it to me in the end, especially if we could beat this. It's definitely worth it. But in the end, at least I could say I tried. There's no way I could sit at home and be okay with this happening here. So I'm honored to be here, and I will take whatever battle or hardship comes to me to be here next to this water.
We're right on a main drag here, and we just experienced somebody coming in who wasn't welcome. What's it been like out here? Has the kind of harassment increased?
Yeah, I would say probably within the last couple weeks we've been getting some pretty emboldened people driving by. There's a bar just right outside of town here, Black Cat Grill, that a lot of pipeliners go to. So we get a lot of real drunk people that drive by here. We had a drunk guy in a van tried to come flying through the cemetery road about 40 miles an hour. He was about to try to take it down that hill, and we had to cut him off and stop him. We were able to successfully stop him. So it's just it's just some touch and go stuff, but lately it's been there's been a few that were getting a little bold there.
Yeah. Um, with this water here, this isn't just for Native people, and there are a lot of non-Native allies and supporters here. What does that relationship look like for Indigenous people of this land and people who are guests or visitors?
I think at this point, everybody here realizes the importance of this water, and a lot of people are coming from like California and Florida and places like that. New York, they were fighting a pipeline over there in a Mohawk territory, so they understand the importance of a fight for water. Their waters are under attack too, and some of them, like a family that came from a ranch in California, there's nothing they can do about it over there but watch the lake get lower and lower and lower. And so they came to stand with us. They believe in our fight. They believe what we're doing is right. So a lot of people are just waking up to the importance of this fight here.
Do you have any faith in the Biden administration to?
No, I don't. At this point, no, I don't. I really was hoping, but even during the presidential debates, I've watched every single one, and he did not say not one word about Line 3. At that point, I was like, this is not good. He hasn't said a word about it. I mean, still to this day, you got to really twist his arm to say anything, and it's really, Mom, it really blows my mind that he says he's for climate change. He's gonna stop this pipeline and that pipeline, but not the biggest one in the world going through our lands here. So it just really blows my mind. I don't know where they stand. I mean, but clearly they're okay with the process of this happening during a extreme drought. So it's sad to see.
And it's kind of apocalyptic because you can't really see it on the camera, but you have wildfire smoke coming in. So we have red moon rises, red sunsets, and on top of that you have a historic drought coming through. And it just seems to me insane because it's actually the effects of climate change are actually inhibiting the construction of the pipeline that will be further contributing
Yeah.
contributing to it. So what are like local state politicians? You have Peggy Flanagan in the governor's office. Where are they at in this? Because she's from one of these nations too.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's in a really weird situation. I don't know Peggy personally, but people have called her out just on the fact that she is Native, and she was very quiet on the situation for a long time, wouldn't take nobody's calls, not her family, not her local tribal members, nothing. So she recently came out and wrote something that she does personally still oppose Line 3, but she's not able to stop it by herself. So she's just kind of making excuses like, I just work here, but I can't change anything. That's the type of attitude she's taking right now.
And you grew up here, so like what was it like? What do these rivers mean to you?
Geez, we practically lived in the water. We'd wake up and get our bikes and have breakfast, and who's bringing the sandwich meat and who's bringing the bread, and we would stay out on the water swimming until nighttime. I mean, we were raised in the waters, around the waters, and we'd get hungry, we'd go pick berries in the woods, we'd stay gone all day, but we were raised by these waters. So it's just really sad seeing them this way. I've never seen them this low in my life. And many people around here, the local sheriff has commented on it. There's locals around here that have said the same thing, that been here their whole lives too.
It's almost like a sign too that it's like this is it. Like if you follow the pipeline route, it crosses so many waterways and goes by so many lakes. Like I just don't. For me, like Standing Rock, I think there were like for Dakota Access, there were like 232 waterways or something like that. But nothing. If you look at a map in this region, it's blue. It's all blue. And the necessity of it, what is the necessity of it? like the economic necessity of?
I think the lake is everything to us up here. I mean, there's some tourist town that purely live off just lake sports and people coming up here for their tourist seasons. The hunters, I don't know what the farmers are going to do without this water here. The water means everything to us up here in northern Minnesota. It carries us, so it just really baffles me how more locals aren't concerned about this right now.
And where do you see the struggle going right now?
It's just really disheartening seeing the agencies, our state agencies, just looking the other way. I mean, we're obviously documenting clearly empty riverbeds, and they still continue to deny our claims. They still continue to deny listening to our voices. So it's very disheartening to see this, and I just feel like they want to silence our voices and silence our rights, and they're pushing us to a point where it is going to get to Standing Rock levels again, where rubber bullets and mace might come out, because I'm not going to just quietly go back home. Okay, you're assaulting our rivers, you're not going to listen, I'm going to go back home. No, I am not. So I just really hope that there's some state departments or somebody that listens before it gets to that. But unfortunately, that might not be the case. Oh, I might have pressed hold.
Oh no, it's fine. It's
Okay. Oh, I think it's good. All right.
yeah, it's still going.
Okay. So yeah, it's just really sad. I feel like they're pushing us to this level where we're going to have to do something as personal citizens to stand up for this water, because the federal agencies and state agencies are not listening to us.
And the police, it's been well documented that the police are getting paid from an escrow account from the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was driving up here, I listened to the radio because I was like, I was like, I wonder if there's any local news reporting, and all it was advertisements for the pipeline. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing I heard about anything Line 3.
Mm-hmm.
And most of it was about the economy, jobs. What is, like, because you're out here, this is your job, seems to me, as a water protector, as a tribal monitor to keep track of these rivers. And if this water goes, it's not just like, oh, your job goes, everything goes.
Yes, definitely. And I just don't see why they're even going into that lie. I don't know how many people are out of state union workers. They brought 4,200 out of state workers during the pandemic in December, and Thief River Falls seen an outbreak of COVID like they never seen before. The whole town practically shut down. And I mean, we've had some MMIW stings that were, some workers were caught trying to sex traffic up here in Thief River Falls and in Bemidji. So I just don't see how they believe that lie. It's just a terrible situation. There's barely any Minnesotans hired here. And once this pipeline goes through, there's only 11 jobs, I believe, that are going to be left, and they're high-ranking engineer jobs and stuff like that. I mean, 99.9% of those Minnesota workers hired right now are going to be out of work in 2-3 months.
And one of the key features of a lot of these camps, I've only been to 2. I went to Shell City and also here, but it's primarily led by Indigenous women, Anishinaabe women, or Anishinaabe Kwe. That's my limited Anishinaabe language that I know, but can you talk about, you talked about MMIW, but what is the role of Indigenous women's leadership in this particular struggle? And
yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what it is, but it seems like it's something within our spirits where we're just picking up old roles that we used to be back then. We're doing it again. I seen it in Standing Rock. A lot of women, warrior women, stood up and took these positions of leadership roles, and that's where I learned a lot of the things I know today is from Standing Rock and the women leaders that were out there. So we've always been upheld as our leaders. We were the village peacekeepers. We're the ones that built the wigwams, did all the cooking. We made the decisions in the camp. We made the decisions if the men went out to war or not. We made all of the decisions. We were the leaders for a long time. So it's just it really pleases me to see women picking up our old traditional roles again, and take taking up these important roles during such a crucial time in our humanity, our place in this world. We need to remember who we are.
Is there anything like that you want people, like especially indigenous people who are listening to this and watching this, to know that they might not get, from just social media or whatever news reports that have been put out there?
Well, I just want people to know that our are being severely violated up here. We've tried to call them on every single water right we had, every indigenous right we had. I just really want people to see our treaties have never been honored up until this day. So we have to take a stand as indigenous people and indigenous leaders, and we welcome allies to come out and stand with us. And I just really want people to see that our our severe treaty violations here are just outstanding.
And what's the best way for people to come out?
Well, they could get a hold of us on the Red Lake Treaty Camp page. We also got a new page on Instagram. It just, yeah, I would say just reach out to us on the Red Lake Treaty Camp page, and we're pretty quick to respond.
And why do people need to come to this specific site soon? Because
Yeah, the drill's coming. We got word today that the drill is possibly coming in the next day or two. They're right at the next crossing over to us, so it's really important to get people out here. This is the longest underground route that they're taking along the whole entire route, so it's going to take them quite a while, at least a few weeks of drilling. So we're really asking people to come out here now and stand with us, dedicate a couple weeks of your time to the water here. Because if we don't have this water, I don't know what we're going to have left in the future. I mean, if water life doesn't matter, then I don't know what does. I mean, there will be no lives left if there is no water left.